So, as we ended last time, we'd ended needing so much more to say because this is the line in the sand. It takes in a lot. First, I like to know, a little question.
Sure.
Are the two lads that camped as young boys, are they still friends?
Those guys?
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, it's a historical fiction. Jeremy does not know Abdu because Abdu is two people in one in creating the book. But Jeremy, what we've discovered is that these guys and gals that go to camp, when they're in high school, and they're bright kids. They were selected to do this, and that to a person that we've talked to that's been in the camp, a camper, and some of them are 30 years old. They say, yes, I've stayed in touch. And they've stayed in touch not just with, friends from Israel and they're Jewish, but friends from Palestine. And that's why we included it in the book to show that there's emotional conflict when it comes to serving your country as Israelis do, and rightfully so. That's their culture. But then my question to one fellow was, have you friends in Palestine from camp? And this fellow was very short. He said, yes. I said, so you went through IDF, you did your 2 years. Was there any conflict of interest, perhaps, in that area for you? He said, I made friends in camp. They will always be my friends. And anything I can do to help my friends, I do. And I said, do you want to elaborate? No. And so we took what he was saying is that it was so serious. His demeanor was that, yes, he was a soldier. He had, business to do in Palestine, in Gaza. And he alerted his friends in advance. And so we put that in the book. We did not hear that directly from him, Richard, but we just, it just led our thought to what would be so disturbing to him, to not answer. And it would be, saying something that would incriminate himself. And he just said, I made friends. They are my friends. They'll always be my friends. And if there's anything I can do for my friends, I do. And so we just thought, for the book purpose, that that's what we would do. And then in talking with some of his associates, some people that knew this individual, they said, yeah, he was pretty disturbed when he was in the IDF. And he was a part of an office of Seeds of Peace, the real place, not the book, Seeds of Peace.
Oh, yeah.
And that is the organization that we cite in calling it Seeds of Hope in our book. And so the stories that we heard from these campers, we heard more stories, but the ones that resonated that we included in the book was, the conflict of doing something to someone else when they love their country. And Jeremy's story is accurate, and as a young man, he was very frustrated and concerned, and his conscience was bothering him about, as an Israeli, as a Jewish man, young man, what to do and how did he feel about it. And it's not unlike how people feel today. believe me, I've met, even with podcasters, a podcaster that would not, a Jewish podcaster, would not talk to me because I didn't know anything about it, because she was very clear that Palestinians were in the scum of the earth. And that was just a view. And I've talked with others that say, this is wonderful. You are offering a view. Now, of course, you're third party and you're looking in, but it's true. Yeah, some of us feel this way. That is, we're conflicted as young people.
How could you not be?
Well, Richard, it they are. And for myself, what gets me in my heart is that, and it's part of the reason why we went to the Middle East. Like, how far do you take retribution? And we had 9/11, and the call to arms was quick. And by the time we got to shock and awe, I mean, there was tremendous collateral damage of innocence. Tremendous.
Oh,
And you say, well, that's war. Well, wait a minute. We can't just accept that. And to be sitting when we were on our trek and we were in Damascus, at the museum in Damascus, in the garden, and there were some Syrian and Iranian young ladies wearing scarves. They weren't fully covered in abayas and stuff like that, like in Saudi. They were students, and they were there at the museum, and they were with guys and young gals, college age, and visiting Damascus. And one girl, we were all talking, and there was nice humor going between us, and where are you from and what's it like? And this one girl said, excuse me. And everybody just gets quiet because they see she's crying. And she said, first of all, did you vote for Bush? And I was like, say, well, that's a private thing. We don't always announce who we vote for. She said, are you aware of how many people have been killed because of 9/11? She said, I am so sorry. The world is sorry. Do you know the tens of thousands of people that have been killed as a response to 9/11, where 3,000 people were killed? And it's horrible. But when does it stop? And so you have a young lady in tears, and a friend saying, it's okay, holding her. But it's a voice, is what I'm saying. And it's a voice from experience on the ground. It's not an opinion. We can question opinions. Someone says, well, I think, and as soon as you hear that, you go, well, it's you, obviously. But when someone tells their story, or something that goes, and she did, she said, I have friends that have been killed. And she just stopped. She was overwhelmed. And so people can, I feel that people can question opinions, but to question someone's story is to deny them their story. And we heard many stories, Richard, along the way. Poignant ones, regular, just family things, asking questions, but it gave us an insight to how people think, how people feel, what they hold important. And you know what? It's universal. It's love, it's family, it's being fed, having enough to eat, helping someone out. Doesn't matter what culture. That's what we found. And we were in many different cultures and broke bread with many, listened to stories, and you can't help but empathize, because all you do is you just change the look, the color of the skin, the clothing, the kind of food, or the music. But it's the story that comes from the heart, from life experience, that is similar.
yes.
And maybe a different religion. But, you know, we looked it up and do unto others as you would have them do unto you is in all the religions.
Yes, in some form it is. And
Yeah.
uh, how many walk the walk?
Well, there's things, and the biggest thing that's called power
Oh, yeah.
and need, and for someone that's bigger and stronger, and to say, now look, you have this resource and we need it, but we're going to help you. So we're going to take this, but we're going to help you, and it's best that you just don't fight.
Well, we've been doing that for a long time.
It's mankind. So I'm not pointing a finger at him or her or them or us. I'm just saying the evolution of thought, it's got to change if we want to find a level of peace. And people say, I think it's true that there are people that they're so full of hatred that they don't care about peace. They're not living in peace within their hatred, and they have targets and they go after them.
Well, there's also an aspect among the plutocracy of greed as well.
Sure.
And that allows people to excuse hate.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've thought the mainstream media in this country is absolutely ridiculous
Mm-hmm.
in it all and not helping. But yeah, I mean, hate, greed, what? Well, I'd love you to really find the golden key here that gets us through this. Right now, we don't look good.
Well, exposure is the first step. Exposure. Um, we wanted to expose some stories that we heard, from people, and they're people that, uh, my electrician in Golden, Colorado,
Go get them.
right,
Go get them.
go get them, and I'm going, hmm. He
Uh,
said he said more, and it's horrifying. And it's an electrician. It's a guy that works hard for his living and his family, but he is led by the headlines, and anyone that looks like an Arab, get him, stop him. You never know, right? And it's like, whoa, okay, that's not my way of thinking at all.
and that's good, but
Or
how
they're a Jew. They're a Jew. Watch out. It's like, what? Or they're a this. And just go, man, I didn't grow up that way. And I learned, like I've said, my mother said, learn to handle where you are, be in the present, and don't comment on it. Live it, be there, serve. And
no. Next question. Line in the sand.
yes,
Are you making progress to get a Broadway show or
yes, we're definitely Line in the Sand is the book, and our latest writer, our fourth writer, and it's been 20 years, it has retitled it, and it's called Dinner at the Majestic. And right now we are in the final phase of a final script. And we've had readings, we've had professional readings and had a small audience. And now we see further things that want to be developed within it. And so we're in contractual negotiations with the writer. It's a new contract, and a second writer that's joining her with these concepts that they have and we have to elevate where it is right now. And so it's just another step, Richard, but it is a necessary step to get, the play is the thing, as as they say. The play's the thing.
which will capture the conscience of the king.
Very good.
Ah, okay, so where were you? Okay, so this is very premature, insane to even ask. Probably, would it be in New York or when you premiere it?
When we premiere it, well,
I have a vested interest in this because I'm
yes.
in New York.
Well, of course, New York is our executive producer is a Broadway producer, and she's been on this project just as tight as I have been since 2005. And she has led us to different writers, and things didn't pan out. But in a case like this with a play that's on its way to Broadway, it generally plays out of town, definitely
Oh, yeah.
before it comes into town.
Yes, of course, I know that.
And so the premiere would be there would be showings, and it very likely be a different cast because it would be less expensive to do a regional theater. The like at the Alley Theater in Houston.
Hmm.
It's a big theater, and we have a connection there that's very strong. But that would be a place to say workshop. Well, there may be a workshop, or it may go directly to production. But that production is to see what we have and if we have the strength to go and how soon to the big boards in New York.
Okay, that's yeah. I mean, I will definitely go to it if it's in New York.
Oh, well, you you and it's been wonderful doing these podcasts because I've done quite a few since the end of November, and to a person, people are interested in it, you know, and so you are already on the list. Okay.
I'm glad to hear that I won't be turned away. That's the
No,
uh,
when George Clooney, uh, there's never been so much money made on Broadway than from that show, Good Night and Good Luck.
uh,
And there were tickets that were being sold for $800 a ticket. Not just one, many. I mean,
so
a week, it was in the millions of the week for a week at that theater where he was playing it. And so it's a star-driven uh, showcase, actually, right now on Broadway. That's what really sells the ticket is star-driven. And our producer is very concerned about aware that of that situation. And also with October 7th, just so still burning in Israel and Gaza, that it's not the time to just pump our play out on Broadway. It is, there are too many people that would, it could get serious. There could be trouble around it because it's too
hey,
hot a topic.
so maybe it starts in Indiana.
It could. Exactly. No, the regional theaters out, the theaters there, my goodness, you know.
I was thinking the way you brought up George Clooney was he going to play you or your co-author?
No, George Clooney, I'm talking about a show that he's in.
I know about
Oh,
that
okay.
show, but
Okay.
when that ends, is he going to play you?
That's funny. He and he's 60 years old, so he's my little brother, so I don't know.
I will, you know, if he's in town, if he calls me, I'll, you
Good, sure, sure. Wow. Yeah,
know.
wow. Well, there's some amazing shows I hear on Broadway right now, that are eye openers. But anyway, I'm headed to Havana, Richard.
And what,
That is because that's our next book. After A Line in the Sand, we're working on Havana and Cuba, 1958 and 2016. Those two time frames, just with the revolution on New Year's Eve,
mhm.
and then 2016 and things in between that have happened, and to to elaborate on that. And so it's my turn to get down there and see for myself after all this research that I've done, much like with Lawrence, reading much about Lawrence and about the times and the declarations, and the same with Cuba, the mafia and the sugar kings and the Bacardi and the tobacco industry, and who wins and who loses in those games. And usually it's the local people that lose,
Yeah, usually it's true.
right?
It is this, we have here the luckiest country that ever existed. Because what's going on around the world, if it ever gets here, whoa.
I can't imagine it, but I I realize after watching documentaries and movies about Havana and Cuba and Fidel and Batista and Lobo, the Sugar King, and Meyer Lansky, the mafia, kingpin, and how, there were no rules for a while, no
Yeah.
rules.
Oh, yeah.
During Prohibition, no rules in Cuba,
Mhm.
and people could fly there and just live it up. And I think that's wonderful. Everybody's doing what they think is right, but it's also, how does it affect the country? How does it affect the people? Who's winning? Who's losing? You know?
I remember reading Havana Nocturne. I don't know if you ever heard of that
Yes,
book.
I have. Yes, isn't that a good book?
What?
English wrote that. Guy named last name
Yeah,
English.
PJ English, yeah.
Yeah, very good.
Uh, yeah, it was a wild time. Like I'm a guy who drank the Kool-Aid
Uh-huh.
until he got
How
up.
so? What does that mean?
What?
What does that? How did you?
I,
How so?
Castro's got to be the most evil. I'm sure I wouldn't go to a conclave to have him declared a saint, but
Yeah,
come on. I mean, TJ English really, got it
lays
up.
it out.
Um, I'll probably, I did a review of the book for a magazine. I'll probably post it online at some point. But it's Castro made every mistake until he stopped making them, and then Batista started making them, and Castro's in power. Um, you know, uh, I mean, if you're going to change your mind about Castro and the revolution, all you have to do is say Marco Rubio. I mean,
Oh,
this guy,
oh,
uh,
Richard, you're treading on grounds.
well, this guy is Secretary of State. The guy who hired him used to call him Little Marco. I mean, so it's your show. I'm sorry. Go ahead. We only
No.
have about 5 minutes left, so you talk.
Well, I'll tell you, I think that the commonalities between people is very similar. And if we just can stick with what's within our control and let some of these indifference go, yeah, we got to be healthy, but we don't have control over it either a lot of times, right? I
Oh,
mean, eat healthy, sleep, but trying to control other people, trying to control our image, trying to take from others, that's not that's not rightfully in our control. And I find that stoicism is Marcus Aurelius and Seneca and Epictetus have fabulous things to say from 2,000 years ago.
oh,
More. I mean, there's a passage where he's writing to the noise outside this window, the travelers, the vehicles, the this and that, and he's talking about Greece or Athens, way back. And I mean, the same things that were bothering them bother us. But like with Marcus, he was writing about it, and he was writing to himself to clean his act up. And I've just found some brilliant things, and it's a matter of demonstrating them, but to have them in thought and not sit around criticizing Rubio, which anyone could. I mean, it's other than an acknowledged bond of it's a joke, but it's not a joke. And the same with the choices that are being made at the highest levels here in the United States. But there are people that agree.
Well, um, I I count on you to go to Havana, do it, and see how the food is. That's an important thing. I would do that if I went, but also bring what you brought to line in the sand to your trip.
Richard, I take that very seriously, and I take that very seriously. And what it's not all fun and games. It's really, truly it's an adventure to understanding. And I hope I can get in. I hope that there's not suddenly a ban from Cuba saying no Americans can come now that our president has banned Cuba, anyone from Cuba coming to the United States. That happened yesterday. So I hope to get there and to be able to put touches in this book that are very much needed. And Miles was there in 2016, 10 years ago. And so those guys who were there in 2016, they're all have all these questions for me to check out, find out about this, find out about that, and give us an update on what's going on. So I'm looking forward to going.
I I would I would be too if I were you. I think you're going to. I'm sure from a line in the sand, I'm sure you're going to learn a heck of a lot. Don't have a working title, do you?
Havana Familia.
Havana what?
Familia.
Familia. Havana family?
Yeah.
I'm I'm not a polylinguist, I assure you. You're good. Do you speak Spanish?
No, a little bit. No. I have Duolingo that keeps chirping at me saying saying you broke your record, now you have it. You got, come back, come back. It's a language program,
Boy,
Duolingo, and it's terrific. It's really,
I I consider myself in the 100-year program for learning French, and I've got kept back awful, but I do have Duolingo for
oh
that.
yeah, I like it. So I'm going prepared, and I'm going under humanitarian visa and humanitarian visa. And I am taking a large bag that I will check that will stay. And there's medical supplies, and there's personal, paste and shampoos and soaps and things from here, and also some some benefits for a foundation down there that will directly help a foundation that is helping children. And so it also opens the door for me to meet someone that's very special, that is actually the daughter of Fidel Castro's longtime doctor, Comandante Rene Ortiz, his daughter. I will be able to meet there in Havana. I'm looking forward to that.
Excellent, excellent.
Mhm.
I think we're coming up. What, Drew? What do we have? About a half minute?
A minute.
We have a minute.
Okay.
If you want to say something to the youth of America or something, but this has been fascinating, as it was before, and I wish you the best of luck on the night on this upcoming adventure.
Okay.
Is the partner in crime going to go down there with you?
No, no, I'm going solo. Let's be in touch, okay?
I
Let's stay
shall.
in touch.
We shall.
And let me give you an update on things every once in a while. We need to stay in touch, and we'll give each other updates.
Very good. Excellent.
Thank you for having me on again, Richard.
Thank you. Thank you for coming on. It's a privilege.
Thank you, sir, very much.